Well, I think we're living in a very connected world. Wireless internet, 5G cell phones. I mean, these things have really been a game changer for us and in just the way we live our lives. And so I don't think anybody's interested in halting or slowing that down. I don't think people are interested in giving up their cell phones, for example. I remember the days of payphones and being a kid and needing parents to come pick me up, and you have to get a quarter in the machine and call them up, and I mean, and you have to find the phone. You got to wait for somebody else to get off the phone so you could use it. I mean, I don't think people are going back to those days, especially, you break down on the side of the road. And back in the day, you had to go hunt down one of those call boxes to call for help. And nowadays, people just have cell phones. So, I mean, I think that, clearly people are not going to, at least at this juncture, but, we don't have the science. I mean, it's kind of like smoking. Everybody smoked for a long time until finally people started realizing, oh, this is a carcinogen and maybe we should stop smoking. And then there was campaigns to, hey, stop smoking, limit your smoking, limit your smoking. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has talked about, with his kids, he says, please do not sleep with your cell phone next to your head. Put your cell phone somewhere else and don't sleep for all of those hours with your cell phone radiating right next to your brain. It's probably not a good thing. So I think people are maybe becoming a little bit more aware, but I don't know if we're going to slow this train down. I mean, I think it's a high-speed train and we're not stopping it. So the big question then is, what are you asking for in the lawsuit? Let's get into the lawsuit so that we can kind of unpack because you're not going to stop, I think, cell phone. We can't ask for we want to, I mean, you can ask for it. I just don't see it happening. I just don't see the world stopping.
Yeah, I am all for technology, and we're not trying to stop technology. We just want to fast track safety and have some safety in place. So there's actually an extensive body of research on how to have technology, but in safer ways, how to reduce exposure. We don't need the exposures that we have now are actually not so necessary. We can still get phone service with less radiation. There are ways they can design phones. There's software and hardware fixes which could make the exposure much less. It's kind of like cars and seatbelts.
Mm-hmm.
That's where we're at.
Okay. So what kinds of things are you asking for then? Or that you're suing for?
Okay, so to look at the big picture of the US versus other countries, we allow 10 to 100 times more radiation from cell towers into the air, allowed to be exposed in our bodies as compared to several other countries, including China and Russia, which have active research programs on the issue of non-ionizing radiation. There's also Belgium, Italy, Switzerland, which have much more restrictive levels when it comes to what we can be exposed to. Because the first question you're going to ask, and you want to buy a new home. I've done this 3 times since I've been working on this issue. And I have my meter, I'm measuring, well, what level is safe? Well, in the US, we have limits that date back to 1996. Those limits have remained unchanged since 1996. The government has not even reviewed the issue of are these levels adequate? There hasn't been a proper and full review. So we sued the government in 2019, the FCC, because they said the FCC opened up, an inquiry asking, should we update these limits? Do they need to be reviewed? And they decided that they did not need to be reviewed after thousands of submissions. Hundreds of studies showing harm had been submitted, and experts from around the world were saying these limits are inadequate. They are sky high. So the DC Circuit, federal court, after reviewing the issue, concluded in 2021 that the decision not to update the limits was arbitrary and capricious because they had not properly reviewed or shown that they properly reviewed all of the science on the record related to non-cancer issues, impacts to hormones, children's development, long-term exposure, wildlife, pollinators. They hadn't looked at recent technological developments, and they were ordered to respond, to explain. That was back in 2021. They were ordered to explain how limits were adequate, and they have
Mm.
not responded at all. And it's been several years. So, how do we have confidence that cell towers are safe? How can the mayors, the elected officials, have confidence when the FCC can't even explain how those limits are adequate?
Yeah. Right. I mean, I think everybody's just thinking about convenience, right? I mean, I think the mayors, when they're making a decision on sticking cell phones all around their cities, they're thinking it's cool to be the connected city. We got to be the connected city that
Yeah,
provides all of this high speed internet for everybody. They're not thinking about, are these towers going to cause long term damage to pregnant women and their babies? Right. I mean, I don't think people are asking those questions. They're just saying, what can I do to be the highest, to be the most connected, futuristic city in America?
right. Well, there's a Harvard investigation called Captured Agency. And I actually am in the middle of publishing a paper right now, which kind of does an update from it because it's now a decade old from 2015. So,
Mhm.
and it talks about the FCC as a captured agency following in the footsteps of the tobacco industry because there's undue influence into the science, into the policy. I mean, money going to our politicians. And really, if you follow the money, it becomes clear what's going on because
Yeah.
there's not transparency. There's not like honesty about what we know and what we don't know, and about the fact that yes, we want convenience, and I believe that we can still have faster, safer, more secure technology if we prioritize wired technology and also look at those hardware and software changes so that we can start competing on safety.
Mhm.
That's what the industry can be doing here. And what we
What
as a
would
country,
you what would you wanna change when you say go to wired? What exactly do you mean? Like, what would you change from wireless to wired?
yeah. So instead of everything going through the air, because when it goes through the air, it's going into our bodies. It can
Yeah.
go through wires, so to and through buildings. So right now, I'm talking to you in an office where the computer is connected with a wire. What industry is trying to do, and to your home, like your home, most home, well, not all. I mean, some people are using satellites, but there can be a
Mhm.
wire that goes to your home. What industry is actually really interested in doing is have everything be wireless. So it's going from the tower to a modem that you have in your home that picks it up in a router and then brings it into your home so that it's wireless from the tower to the home and then in the home. So at
Mhm.
any point, if we start adding wires, then that information it's in the wire, not
Okay.
in the air, which is in our bodies.
Yeah. I think most of our houses aren't we all pretty much wired for internet at this point? Like, right now, we're pretty much wired, right?
Some are, some aren't. More and
Mhm.
more when you go to buy a home, especially an apartment building, you might not have that option anymore. So
Mhm.
we are advocating definitely that that be an option because
Yeah.
having looked at a million homes recently, and when we were moving, some have those wires already in there, and you just plug
Mhm.
in, and it's super fast. So there's a lot of pieces to this, but what it comes down to is that the federal government has failed to adequately protect us with up to date limits. We have out of date limits. No one's looking at it. There's no
Mm.
research scientists looking at this issue, and we need to start having accountability.
Yeah. So you wanna keep things as wired as possible, as wired as possible, so what we can have wired, like, stay on cable or fiber optic internet instead of moving to these, like the totally wireless. I mean, it's wireless inside the house. What do you think of that? I mean, what if, like, if you have cable internet or fiber optic internet, but then everything you own is wireless? I mean, our cell phones, our computers, our TVs, like everything is wireless. Is that harming us inside of our houses?
We would recommend hooking up with wires everything you can, but what's happening now with what the FCC is doing, they are trying to strip away, responsible placement of cell towers because a cell tower, we can do things in our homes, that's our choice. But when it comes to a cell tower, what's happening is uh, people are waking up to towers being built right in the front, in their rights of way, in front of their homes. and they're being
Mm.
told they have no power to do anything about it. Now, in some communities, they've gotten together and they have ordinances where they have setbacks. They're saying, the tower needs to be a certain amount of feet away from homes, away from schools.
Yeah.
And those are being directly targeted by the FCC right now. I mean, he's naming names. The FCC named different communities, San Mateo, San Francisco, related to their fees. They're naming the names of these communities that have tried to enact common sense setbacks for cell towers. So there's what's in our home, and then there's what's outside of our home. And we
Right.
can't control what's outside
What's outside? Yeah.
of the
Yeah,
home.
you're right. I mean, we can control a bit better what's inside, and we can wire to as much as we possibly can, but outside, what can we do? And you're saying that right now the FCC is just like, "Oh, no, they're gonna strip away the control," basically. So they're in charge and local communities can't even do anything about it.
Yeah, they're proposing new rules, which likely will do that. They're asking, should we preempt, cities, states, and counties related to the time they allow for permitting, and that'll impact the ability for people to have notice about when a cell
Yeah.
tower goes up, for them to participate in hearings, for the you know for the locality to properly review the application, and that's all coming down right now in the middle of the holidays. And
Mm.
they have like 30 days to comment, with 15 more days
Okay.
for a public comment. So it's an
I mean, these
unprecedented.
people are idiots. They're idiots because this kind of is like, in the future, let's say, I mean, hopefully sooner than later, but let's just say 30 years from now, 40 years from now, 50 years from now, they realize because there's enough science, there's enough evidence that shows, yeah, these things are causing harm. They're causing cancer to people. They're causing all these issues, reduced immune systems or whatever it is. And then they'd have to move the towers. I mean, they'd be ordered to move the towers, and that's going to cost money. Just do it right the first time. I mean, how hard is it? Just do it right the first time rather than paying later. So it's just kind of this idiotic way of, short-sighted, I suppose. And it sounds like they're kind of acting the same way that fluoride in the water, that issue there, they actually tried to block certain municipalities from having the power to eliminate fluoride in their water. So
Mm.
the municipalities didn't want it, and there was like some push for, well, no, you have to have it anyway. You're not allowed. We're stripping your rights away, which is so, anti the entire notion of America and the federation that we're supposed to be, in the rights, the individual rights of communities. But it sounds like it's a very similar, kind of a similar short-sighted, like, "Oh, we're just doing this to you anyway. We're gonna put medicine in your water." What harm could that be? Then we find out later, "Oh, we've just made an entire generation of stupid kids." Like they've got lower IQs now because their moms were drinking fluoridated water, and now that science has come out, I mean, it sounds very similar, like they just experiment on us and they don't care what the effects are later.
If you think about this issue, it is a giant experiment with no controls. I mean,
Yeah.
we are the experiment because we have the experimental evidence in animals to show impacts. The US government the NIH had these $30 million studies they did on rats and mice. They found DNA damage, they found increased cancer. And then the FDA said several years ago that they disagreed with the findings. And
Mm.
that study was designed to predict what might happen to us. Now we want to just wait for the bodies. That's where we are. We are at that point. So, um, there's also a study out of Italy that looked at rats and exposed them to very low levels intended to mimic cell tower radiation limits. And they found the same tumors that were found in the NIH rats here in the United States.
Wow.
And all of this science is being attacked, wargamed, not respected. And, it's so important that we start having some light on this so people can know
Yeah.
what's going on. And what we
Okay.
need are, yeah,
Let's talk about what we can do.
okay.
So there's the lawsuit. In regards to this, in regards to the government, the lawsuit, FCC, what can we do? in order to fight back and to say we want to have the power and the control to make these decisions?
Yeah, so we have a petition going. We also have at Environmental Health Sciences, we also have a letter writing campaign. We need to let our government officials know what's going on so that they can take some action to, preserve local control. I mean, that's what this
Hmm.
is about. It's about communities being able to control the commercial equipment, cell tower installations in the communities. We are the most impacted by what's going on in our neighborhood, and we should have a say in that. Communities should
Yeah.
have a voice. So that's
Okay.
really
So
important.
we do have the link to the petition. That is down below. So people should sign the petition, and they should also start writing letters to their officials and say, "Hey, we want to have this. We want the control. We don't want you guys to." You know what this kind of reminds me of also is the big push and it was a successful push to not allow the United States as a country to have its health decisions, its pandemic health decisions made by the WHO. And there was that, they were voting on the controlling all the countries, and a lot of people pushed back on that, said, no, we should have local control. It should be country by country. And that was somewhat successful of a push. So it kind of reminds me of that, look, you don't get to just control from high on up somewhere in the faraway land. Like, we want to control it locally. We don't want you deciding for us.
Yeah, I mean, this is about the feds
Hmm.
bringing the rules in that we're going to have to follow down here, and every community is different. We all
Right.
have different values and there's historic preservation issues, and the character of our communities will be fundamentally changed by all of these installations going up without our control. I mean, just about responsible placement.
Okay.
That's what we need. And that is the fundamental issue here in terms of what the FCC is doing. So,
Okay. Well,
yeah.
we do, like I said, we do have that petition down below so people can learn more. They can also sign it. They can do the letter writing campaign. They can join in on that. Let's also talk about what an individual can do. Okay, so, they're listening to this right now. They're watching this now and they're thinking, oh, shoot, there's a power line or there's a cell tower right outside my backyard, or right outside my front yard. They're not going to sell their house. They can't. They're not going to move because of this. Is there anything people can do to protect their homes from the effects that are just, is there is there some kind of a device you can get that you can stick in your house that will counter the frequencies or the radiation, or do you know what I'm saying? Or is there what can you do?
I wish I could tell you that there was a device that had been properly tested that could fix all of this magically, but I don't know of any. So, what I recommend people do is really get organized on this in terms of having local control. I mean, when it comes to cell towers, it's really about your community getting together and ensuring that you have requirements so there is an adequate distance. There's also property values that drop from cell towers
Yeah.
being in your home. So it's not just about the health and safety issue. There's a whole bunch of reasons why you want a cell tower at a distance. But that local ordinance is really important. And in your home, you can think about how to reduce your own exposure, and don't sleep with your cell phone and keep it off your body, actually,
Yeah.
because you're getting right near that phone an intense amount of radiation into your body where the phone is
Mhm.
closest to. So, you
Right.
know, yeah, there's actually a lot that can be done personally, and we have that on our website at Environmental Health Sciences if you're interested in how to decrease your overall exposure in your home. But
Yeah.
these exterior sources are involuntary
Right.
and we can't control it. And some people can move. I know people who uh, wake up to a cell tower or find out a cell tower is coming, they can't stop it, and they end up having to move. But not everyone is able to do that.
Yeah.
That's a
Well, and it
leg.
kind of sucks if you move. All you're doing is you're just, it's like, okay, well, I want to get out of harm's way, but I'm going to stick the person who's buying my house in harm's way. You're just swapping who's in harm's way. It's okay, well, it's me or it's them. It's still kind of a crappy situation, right? Because you
Yeah,
know that there's harm and you're letting somebody else, you're knowingly allowing someone else to move into harm's way. And that's like another ethical question that you'd have to ask yourself. before you decide to sell and move, right? I mean, unless they're going to bulldoze the house down and use the land for nothing. That's kind of the issue there. But
It shouldn't be our problem. This should not be our ethical
right,
issue. It's really an ethical issue of the decision makers because
yeah,
they have a responsibility to be protecting us and to be ensuring that the regulations we have are adequate. So
right,
it ends up being a personal situation when you're in a home, but really this is it's about transparency and a complete lack of accountability at the top here. So
yeah.
1996 rules, we didn't even have Wi-Fi then. We didn't have
I know it. It's like go
they,
back to 1996. What did we have? Like nobody had a cell phone at that. Only the wealthiest of the wealthy had cell phones
that's
at that
right.
point. I mean, those and they were thousands of dollars and they were huge. Right? Those giant
Yeah.
bulky things.
And who could
Oh,
imagine that a kid would be using a cell phone?
right. Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
You
Now
know?
we got all little kids have cell phones. They take them to school. It's a safety thing. Maybe they only, if they're young, they might only have a couple of telephone numbers programmed in that they're allowed to use. They're kind of like those, but nonetheless, it's a cell phone and they're carrying it around. You're right. I mean, we are a bunch of guinea pigs right now. We have no idea what this is going to do in the future, especially as they accelerate. Thank you for watching this clip from the full Kim Iverson show, which you can catch Monday through Friday, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern at KimIversonShow.com. It is free for you to watch. Again, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern, KimIversonShow.com. See you there.